Welcome back. David Hertel in for Elias. Last year marked a jump in the number of crimes against individuals in the city. It increased by 9% over a year and by 21% over 5 years. Within the study, which revealed this information, was the following. There were 41 homicides last year compared to 37 in 2021, and firearm infractions were up to 563 as opposed to 516 the year before. A worrying increase, which many say is only set to continue unless we get things under control. To discuss this and all things City Hall related is Aref Salem. He's the leader of Ensemble Montreal, the leader of the opposition at City Hall. Aref, always a pleasure.
Thank you, David.
So what's your reaction to these statistics?
Well, basically, that's a lack of investment of the city of Montreal, of the administration plant. You know, I'd just like to remind you, we did an election. She promised to have to hire 250 police officers. She did not even hire them. But today, Fadi Daguerre, the chief of the police, is saying he's missing between 500 and 700 police officers at the city. He's trying to put a plan in place, but you know he needs the tools from the administration to succeed with his plan.
What I find interesting about these numbers, because you can always, and the spin from the Plante administration is that the increase from 21 to 22, well, the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. But the numbers have increased significantly since 2017. And coincidentally, this is when Projet Montréal took over the administration of the city. It was in November of 2017. So what does it say about the way the Plante administration is handling crime in the city? Because everything, auto theft, everything is on the rise, and there doesn't seem to be much being done. So are you saying the only issue is we don't have enough cops?
Well, the thing is, you know, you have to be attractive too. It's for sure like we don't have enough cops. That's a fact. But we have to invest in community organization too. We have to put in place more of the mixed team where we associated the police officers to like you know the social workers. We have to make sure at least these people have the tool to intervene where the police, they cannot intervene. But at the end of the day, there is a lack of safety that we can feel, that we can see in the community in Montreal. And that's the result of the lack of investment done with the police department. And we have to remind you that, you know, many chief of police, they left under Projet Montréal administration. And that's because, you know, like they didn't have the tools to put in place, they can put in place the plan for the safety of the community.
So if the Plante administration doesn't provide these extra 500 to 700 police officers, do you really think that Fadi Daguerre, the new police chief, can be successful at his job?
You know, it's not Fadi Daguerre. Anyone can't be successful. And we need these tools. You know, the base salary of a police officer who starts at the city of Montreal, it's $41,700. When you go to Longueuil, it's $45,000. If you go to Laval, it's $46,000. If you go with the SQ, it's $50,000. You know, how do you want to be attractive for the police to come and start at the city of Montreal? I know that Fadi, he starts right now, you know, by increasing Prime de la Métropole. He's trying to increase the salary of the beginners, and we know how much the cost of living in Montreal. So he needs to have the tool, he needs to have the money, he needs to have the funds from the Plante administration, so he can at least succeed with the plan. Without these tools, no one can succeed.
I want to move on to a few other topics while I have you, Aref. First of all, the Ville-Marie encampment, the courts have decided they have to be moved. Apparently, they're scheduled to be moved on Friday unless a last-minute reprieve is given again by the courts. The Milton Park situation is barely getting better. A new ombudsperson report says, yeah, there's been some little improvements, but nothing much. The homeless situation, it's a health issue. It's an economic issue. It's basically an important issue in Montreal. Every time you talk to the administration, they say, well, it's not our fault. It's the province's fault or it's somebody else's fault. We're not heading in the right direction on this front. What would you do different, or how can we improve this situation?
I was last Saturday at Milton Park, and I was at the Fête des Voisins organized by the residents of Milton Park. And the only subject that it was talking there on the lips of everyone, it was the cohabitation with homeless people. It's not that hard to do. We had the Ombudsman of Montreal. He tabled his recommendation a year ago. Last year, he said, and I'm gonna just tell you the report that he said was to not look the other way. And he did recommendations. One of the recommendations is to have an emergency resources for the Inuit community. Until now, there is nothing well done. He said we have to put in place a multidisciplinary Inuit center. The city is not there. So, and it's a trend. It's always the fault of someone else. If it's not the CUS, it's the fault of the government of Quebec. If it's not the government of Quebec, we're going to try to find someone else like it's fault. The problem is, it's a responsibility for the government of Quebec, yes, and the city of Montreal, and the city should intervene. These are human beings. We have a crisis in this area. We have another crisis, on under Ville-Marie Highway. There's a human being there waiting at least for someone to bring them under a roof. Why we have a lack of volunteering. We have to find a way to find them a roof. We have to intervene to help these people at least live with dignity. And that's, what the administration is not doing.
I have about a minute left, Aref. I want your impressions of this being the Grand Prix week and the city looking the way it does. Do you think we're doing what we can to show the best side of Montreal, especially when the world is looking and it's so important economically?
Well, I think we can do better. Just like lately, we can do better to put Montreal on the map. This year, we know that the people they're gonna have a problem to go to downtown. They're asking us to take a public transportation to go there. With public transportation that we have, we cut the services. There is one bus over 4 are late. The subway is not always working. There's a lot of interruptions. We can do better to put Montreal on the map, not just with Formula One, with so many events that we're not doing them at the city right now. Just think of the downtown of Montreal. I don't know if you had the chance to go to the village.
Oh yeah,
it's a human that is there.
Yeah.
There is something to do there. There is a lack of investments, a lack of intervention. I was there in February, and my heart was really broken when I was there. I think there is a lot to do to put Montreal on the map, not just for the international level, and Montreal for Montrealers too.
We're going to have to leave it at that. Thank you very much, Aref, for your time.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, David.
Aref Salem, leader of Ensemble Montreal.